Hey folks, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. Today we have a very cool out-of-box review, and actually I'm going to talk about review for you. This is the VeryFire 1/350th scale Japanese heavy battle cruiser Takao. VeryFire reached out to me a month and a half ago, April 8th. So April, May, yeah, it's been almost 2 months now, and said, hey, would you like a 1/350th scale model of our new Takao with the detail upset inside of it? This is the special edition, has the detail set inside of it. And I said, absolutely. Yes, of course I did. So two things. One, when you're a model builder, right, and you have a YouTube channel, it's very exciting when people start reaching out to you and offering to send you products for free. I did not pay for this, in exchange for a review. And obviously you want to say yes. That was the condition. The conditions of their review was, will you get to keep it if you do a review. And that's it. That's all it said. We'll send you the model. Please do a video review. That's it. It's very important. I don't like to do reviews on things unless I think they're good. And this is really good. This is an exceptional kit. So here's what we're going to do. This is important. We're going to go ahead and open the box. I'm going to it's going to be a longer video than I want it to be because there's so much detail, but I'm going to show you generally all the parts. Nigel's Modeling Bench did a full review on this kit. There's several other reviews where they go through all the stuff in super duper great detail. I'm going to kind of show you the main parts of the kit so you can see how well detailed it is. Then we're going to look at the photo etch and the 3D printed parts that they added in the detail up part of the kit. That's what's different about this from the other ones. And then we'll kind of page through the instructions. You have got to see the instructions. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my personal review thoughts, right? Because there's out-of-box videos where you just open the box and you look at it. And then and I believe that's one type of video. Then there's actually giving a review, which I'm going to do at the end, what I think of the kit thus far, but not having built it, obviously. I'd like to build this kit at first. When I got it, I was like, it's not really my subject. I don't think I want to build it until I got the kit. Now I want to build it. So this is going to be a keeper, and we will eventually do a build series on this. So if you are curious, please like and subscribe. No, it won't be soon. But yes, we will one day build this kit because it's just too cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the build. And then at the end, I want to give you my thoughts on some things that I think are really important. Let's begin. This is our box art. And as you can see, it's very nice. And most importantly, we have the deluxe version. So on the side here, just a nice cutaway, and then some things that I cannot read, but that's okay. On our side, we have a copy of the front, and then, of course, your kit part number. On the opposite side of the bottom, we've got a little bit of a color code, a good look at the float planes, and then I think this is great. VeryFire's included paint colors so that you can see what you need to get. This is an excellent move. I used to purchase kits when I was younger, open them in the store in front of the guy, dig out the instructions, find the paints, figure out what I didn't have, and then go back and pull those out of the shop, collection too, and then make another purchase. So this is very, very cool. And then we'll look at the other end real quick. Same thing, more box art. Let's open it up. All right, so when you pop the box cover off, and again, heavy duty, nice box, comes off easily. This is what you're greeted with on the inside. So the instruction book doesn't fit this way, so they got to put a little bend in it. We're going to take a look at this. It's very, very nice. This, obviously, doesn't fit any other way. This is your Takao detail upset, and it has all of the extra parts and instructions inside of it. So we'll take a look at this at the end also. Alright, so the hull is obviously molded in two halves, and they've nicely slipped it into this piece of cardboard, which you can lift off, but I'm going to pop it out like so. We'll take a good up-close look at it in a moment. but I wanted to get to the photo etch brass that they've taped down right here. We'll pop this all off and go through it when we go through the parts, again with the unboxing. Pop this off, boom, we've got a nicely set, stacked set of parts in here, and there are a lot of parts. So over here on, I guess it just works out at my left-hand side, brass barrels, black metal chain, a nice decal set with a good register. And then what I want to get into, obviously, you know, there's a ton of sprues, right? This is all your kit stuff, and I'm seeing some very nicely molded parts. But I want to get to the 3D printed stuff over here. So this is something I wanted to mention. I wanted to show you this right away. I don't know what's in here, but there's, hopefully you can make it out, there's little like support wall. Can you make that out? And over here it is broken. That isn't a problem, and this is, I suspect, we're going to open this and see, that this took a little bump in the jostle in the box, and it broke the part that's supposed to protect the pieces on the inside. That's what it's designed to do. I hope that's what happened. Our model 3D printed parts, that's what we do. If you ever get a part that the support's busted, that means the box took a really bad blow, but hopefully your parts did not. So I view that as a really good thing. We'll take a look at this. Then over here, we have this magical wrap. In here are 3D printed parts. We're going to take this out and look at it. Let's look at the sprues real quick. All right, we're going to start off with Sprew E here, and I opened this up. I guess I should have been recording. I just said, wow, because it's really well detailed, and I think I was mostly impressed with these really nice small screws. They look really good. But you've got, I'm not going to bore you and take forever staring at these things. The detail is really nice, and I plan on demonstrating that when we take a look at the hull. But you've got your torpedo launchers up here. There's also torpedo loaders. It's very, very, very detailed. Your anchors are down here on both sides. It's nice stuff. All right, I'm not even going to open this up. These side pieces that you see here, and if you can tell up here looking at that, the front, these are the main guns, and this is the base. Interestingly, VeryFire has you assemble the guns. You get to put the sides on. Here's the tops. This is the back of the sprue. Some detail there. So this is going to be an interesting project. The gun show will be different when we get to this build than per usual. Okay, I said I wasn't going to take everything out, and then I saw this stuff. So these are the ship's boats, and let's see here. If we get in a little bit closer, I want you to see, look at that. Look at that detail. How that's really, really nicely done. And it's small. Here's our denominations for you, but all kind of the opposite of what I've been seeing lately. Sorry about the focus. It's the opposite of what I've been seeing lately from other manufacturers who are kind of skip out on these parts and just do like a generic job. And if we look here, I mean, you see nicely thought out. This is really good stuff. So I am used to, I guess, Trumpeter's all clear airplane parts. So we have two aircraft for this plane, a Nick and a Kate, I believe, float plane versions. I'll have to double check that, but they're molded in gray plastic, and then we have our catapults here as well. This is really good. This is really good detail. I'm really impressed. Here's a look at the other plane, and you can see they've even done the propellers with a hub, and there's I think a little angle to the props, and then you've got your ailerons. Take a look at the wing. And then, of course, the catapult detail. I think this is very sharp. I'm sure there's photo etch versions of this because it's detail up kit. But this is more than acceptable if you get the non-deluxe version, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Here's some of the smaller kit supplied guns and some of the detail here. We'll zoom in close. Again, for scale, it's small, but I think you can see that the detail is exquisite. They really, really have done an outstanding job with this molding right here. All right, I've skipped along to a couple of the large sprues just so you get an idea of what is on them. There is a myriad of sprues with super duper tiny parts on it that you'll add for detail everywhere. And I'm sure you've seen that in other videos, but I wanted you to get an idea of what's on some of these larger sprues. And this is a lot of the exterior of the ship. And I think you can see that it's all really good stuff. This piece right here popped off on me when I pulled it out of the bag. I don't want anyone to think it's missing. But very finely detailed, crisp, straight things. I haven't seen anything like this since Zucamura builds, and those are airplanes, and obviously we moved on to ships. All right, this is Sprew C, and we have some other halves of our funnel trunk. The main superstructure up here, this was a big thing that they improved to help make this look more like a flagship as far as beefing it up and giving it a big appearance. Here's your other sides of your trunk and some decking. So these are kind of the largest pieces except for the next sprue we'll take a quick look at. All right, I'm zoomed out. This is our deck, and hopefully you can get an idea, of the size of the ship. What do we, if I slide over here, it's approximately 23 inches long. So this is the size of the USS Fletcher in 1/200 scale, except this is a heavy cruiser in 1/350th scale. The details, very nice. So we have the main deck. There's molding lines in here. I'll zoom in. This area is flat, and this area is flat. You'll put the photo etch on there. And then the forecastle's got really good detail. And then you have your keels. These triangular pieces, I want to point them out now. These go in between your hull halves to get your sizing correct. That's what those are. All right, here is this deck piece, all your parts before you, assemble everything. I'm not sure which piece this is, but you can see nice engraved detail. All right, this is the stern. Can we see here that there's great little rivet detail? If I turn it like that, see that? And then as we move along in midship, right in here, nice little deck details. Then we're gonna have to, fill all this in. And then up here, the forecastle area, the bow here. This is great. We've got engraved details, our runners for the chains, for the anchors, and then you've got some non-slip detail here for, if we can make that out, there you go, for walking. So, nicely detailed. All right, let's take a good look at the hull. All right, as previously mentioned, you get your two hull halves, and you have this great profile. I always thought this bow profile on the Japanese ships was really killer. I think it had really good sea handling characteristics as well. I think, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, versus the Bismarck that just nosedived in like a submarine. The detail on here is really sharp. So I'm going to flip it around real quick. You've got these big locator holes that Ray Charles can see, and that's to put in your little connectors so that you get the hull spacing correct. I wouldn't be surprised. This is nice, robust, thick plastic. This is going to be it's already very solid. It's not wobbly and wiggly like some of the other larger ships and things I've dealt with. So you're going to have a very accurate hull with right dimensions and shape when you start putting it together. Now the detail is great. Let's look at that. Okay. I'm just going to try and move slowly along here so that we stay in focus and you guys can get a look at how there's rivet detail, obviously the portholes, obviously the hull plating, but rivet details at the joints where the hull plating matches up. This is I don't know. I think this is really over the top in terms of quality, right? You just don't see this too much. And the fact that this could be, imagine if this was done in 1/200 scale. Obviously it'd be much larger, but just phenomenal detail. Those slots up there for the torpedo launchers, they would pivot out, and you'll build the torpedo launchers and put them on the deck. But this is really good. I'm super happy with the quality of what we're seeing here, right? So what we have left to do is to take a look at the instructions. I want to give you guys an idea of the quality of the instructions. You can imagine based on what you're seeing here. And we got to take a look at the 3D printed resin parts, so the detail upset portion of things. Well, let's transition to that. All right, while I have everyone here, I talked about this black piece that I know is already damaged. So let's see what we have. Open it in front of everybody. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so knock that little support piece off. So this got a good jostle, but look at that. All right, everything on the inside is A-OK. That is the single most important thing. And yeah, for whatever reason they've chosen black resin. They put a bunch of holes in it to get off the build plate. And there are your parts. I don't see any identifying information about what it is I'm looking at here or what part. That's something that people really need to do. It does say RP there, so maybe we'll find it. They'll be called out on this sprue, but it's really important that when you, and this is what I do with my shop, if I 3D print you parts and it's not obvious what the part's for, the part number that's in the kit instructions goes next to the 3D printed part. I think those are some gun directors up there, so you know what they are. All right, moving on to the other things. All right, that large bag was just a bunch of baggies full of 3D printed parts. So we'll open these up and see what we're looking at on the inside. All right, first thing we got here, and hopefully you can see they're small, these are blast bags. And they've got some nice little wrinkles inside of them. They are uniform wrinkles though, but that's not the end of the world. So that's cool. All right. More tiny little parts in black. This is just called 1/350th Takao. I don't know what the parts are in there. Oh, I think I see some paravanes at the bottom here on this left side. Those are paravanes. And yeah, you can make out all that stuff. All right, next up, I think we're looking at gun parts. I don't really know. I have to look in the instructions. They're small, just says 1/350th Takao, but they're in there. That curved thing up there, I know it's kind of hard to make out. That goes on the bow. I don't know what the rest of these little parts are. On this next one though, those kind of look like torpedoes. These are the torpedo reloaders. They go next to the torpedo launchers and put your fresh fish on board to send on their way. Yeah. Again, 1/350th Takao. All right, next up, Takao anti-aircraft guns. Those are the barrels. Those are the 3D printed bases. These are in the kit. obviously kit provided, and then you have these two. So it'll be really interesting to see how much of an improvement these are over the kit parts. The barrels already back here are fantastic. You just got to put them together. There's still an assembly process right there. All right, trying to best show you how to see these. These are anti-aircraft guns. I don't know if they're 20 millimeter or if the Japanese used a different caliber, but these are the bases. And then those are the guns with the little sight up on top. That's a nice feature. All right, and these are nice. This is funnel detail. I know it goes on the top. And this is cool because who wants to bend all the photo etch and try and get these angles right, especially when you could just print it and have it be exactly the way you need it, right? All right, this fancy dancy part, it's kind of like ribbed, goes inside of the funnels. I'm sure it's kind of like a heat exchanger or how everything is vented out the top for all your different systems inside the ship. But it's a cool little feature that they molded, and I appreciate that. All right, a few other little parts here. Good detail on the top. It's hard to make out the stuff on the side. I'm sure in gray primer these will pop out a little bit better. All right, here we have some anti-aircraft guns, I think. Maybe they're just regular guns, but these are the bodies. You can see lots of detail, including the ladders, I think, are already printed on there. And then you have your slots, detail in the back to put the gun barrels in. This is the actual guns themselves. So this is not very small, obviously, so these should be pretty easy to handle. All right, so quickly, the brass barrels, I just want to show it real quick. And then the anchor chain's nice, it's all metal and black. And then we have, obviously, the decal sheet, which is simple, but very well done. Let's take a peek at the photo etch brass now. All right, here's our photo etch. It's a little darker, I apologize. Even if I remove the plastic, I still get a glare from the light right here, and I want to attempt for you guys to see everything. But this is the deck PE, and that we'll have to lay down. That's probably going to be one of the most important visually important pieces of photo etch that's fragile, that may be the absolute most difficult to put on. We'll see. But I'm just going to scroll past here just so that you can see the extent of the photo etch included in the detail upset. And those, by the way, are cranes that I had mentioned earlier that I suspected were there. These look like deck and gun tops. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. And not too bad on the railing front here. This is our crane. So yeah, good stuff. All right, let's take a look at the instructions now and wrap this up. All right. We're not going to build the ship, but we're going to look at this stuff. So this is the back of the detail upset instructions. Hopefully you can, and you guys can zoom in on your screen here and get an idea of what you're adding as far as the photo etch and things go. And they do talk about removing some little parts from the kit. When you flip it over, you just get a big inventory, and then let the games begin. This is great. This is how detail set instructions should be. Pontos, I am talking to you. NKA, I am talking to you. This is the way you guys are supposed to be doing instructions. Clear, concise, pointing exactly where they need to go. I don't need to hunt around at photographs of the entire assembly to see and hope and flip through thousands of pages hoping I found the right parts. This is how you do it. This is fantastic. And it's in color, and it looks good, and anyone can figure this out. And also you can get an idea of, the ship. Now, if this is the level of detail for the detail up instructions, which are, I'm going to tell you here, even just a little generic, and I just want to show you. Hang on. Just take a look at that. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here midship, and the detail with the railing and everything, it's exciting how cool that this ship will end up being. and talking about putting that photo etch down, that's going to be a challenge, but we'll figure it out one of these days when we get there. I don't have plans to build this ship tomorrow, but I do want to build it. It's too cool not to. And then obviously the back where we started. Now let's thumb through the instruction manual. Okay, here's the instruction manual. We're not going to build this ship right now, but I want you to see some things. Once you get past your inventory, look at this. It's in color, and the pieces and parts are in different colors. Now it does a weird thing here. You have to turn it lengthwise, right, till you get to mid-page, and then you got to flip it around the other way. I don't know if this was for ease of printing or if layout to make it as large as possible for you to see. It is very large. Or if this is just a preference of the guy who designed it. I don't know. But that is how it works, and I would prefer to have it this way. Now look. Now we're getting into our colored Lego sets. Does look a little bit like Play-Doh. Play-Doh colors. I guess I'm reminded of that. The granddaughter's got Play-Doh. But now, look how simple it is to see what part is what. This is huge. Other manufacturers, please do this. Look, when you have a complicated mess of parts, and you're like, well, no, wait, what am I putting where? Which piece is which? How does it go in between the other part? Right? Right? Exactly. That's what I thought. Glad we agree. So, now you've got an idea kind of how these instructions work. And it's nice glossy paper. This is a firm, oh man. It's a good strong paper. Not too glossy. Man, they should just put this online. Now this is where it gets a little complicated. That's what I was talking about, the guns. You have to assemble them. Not sure what I think about this, other than I'm certain it was to maximize the detail given your multifaceted surfaces. There's limitations to what can be accomplished with molding. And I think they opted for the higher detail in lieu of construction simplicity. And in this case, a worthy sacrifice, right? And then you're done. Some color codes on the back, and you get a Jake and a Pete. I misspoke earlier. By misspoke, I said the wrong thing. A Jake and a Pete are your two airplanes that you get with this. So, yeah. That's it. Let me give you a couple of final thoughts. We'll wrap up. Okay, folks, we're back for some final thoughts. Okay, when you... a model's a model, right? The plastic either is nice and the molds are nice and instructions are understandable, or they're not, right? It's pretty simple. Every once in a while, though, in life, separate from models, right? I'm going to talk about the kit for a second. We get things that are exceptionally nice. So Apple for a while is an iPhone. They were, you got I don't know what they do today. It's been a minute, but you got a really nice box. It was good cardboard. It had a nice finish on it. The instructions were nicely laid out. It was packed with care. You felt good about the thing that you were purchasing, right? Any of you have ever purchased some inexpensive jewelry for your mom or girlfriend or even your spouse? Guys, right? We buy what we can afford. And I've purchased for Nora some really nice high-end jewelry. And then it came kind of in just a whatever box. Now, she doesn't care. She loves it. But I care. It's part of the presentation, right? It helps me believe that the complete package is really nice. I like high-end guitars. I have a Fender Custom Shop and a Gibson Custom Shop guitar. They come in cases that are extremely nice, and you open it up and there's amazing detail inside, and it's obviously this wonderful bed for your guitar. You get the aromas of the lacquer. You feel good about the product prior to starting out, right? Not everything's like that. You can get cheap packaging and crummy packaging and just be like, yeah, whatever, it's okay, it's fine, it doesn't really matter, you're going to throw it away. And then the product inside ultimately is what matters. But occasionally companies do the whole thing, right? So that's where we get back to with this. This box came in a box that was just a hair bigger than this. So basically it was double boxed. I don't have it at the moment, but they put on the corner protectors, those plastic heavy corner protectors on this box to I've only seen that on like my 3D printers and things you really want protected, right? They put that on this box. This box, it's a heavy duty box. This is an unnecessarily thick cardboard. And unlike Trumpeter, while it does fit nice, it comes on and off easily. And the box art, it's this nice satin finish. So I'm not catching, but it's not glossy and annoying. It looks good. The information is there. It was packaged well. I was caught off guard by all of these little details prior to getting into looking at what was inside. I was super excited about the contents just by what I was hanging on to, right? And when I opened it up, I was like, okay, well, they bent the instructions over, and I was a little bummed about that because everybody likes your instructions to be nice and flat and clean book. But then I realized, well, that's the only way it'll fit in here, and it'll lay out. And I quickly decided I didn't care. I'll lay it out flat, but when you have all these colors and wonderful details that are clear as a bell and really just enjoyable to look at, I mean, this is, you want to talk about, hey, I'm going to take this to bed and pre-build this all in my mind. This is some reading material. It's good. And then they have on the front a nice little story about the Takao that I didn't know because I wasn't familiar with it. And I'd like to research like what ultimately happened to it at the end of the war, because it survived the war, I'm led to believe by reading this. It's in good English. It's in American, UK English that one can understand, unlike poorly translated stuff from other companies. Trumpeter. This thing is made at the Beaver Corporation, Inc. I'm not going to Senoshi, and I don't know the city there, but in Japan. So despite the world today, you should be able to get this kit, and it shouldn't be too terribly expensive. So obviously what I'm getting at is this thing, I think this thing's really cool. Now there's a lot of very, very small parts. It's in 1/350th scale. They look well thought out though. You're going to need tweezers. You know, you're going to need a variety of tweezers. I like my metal ones here to hang on to these parts and put together. But it's the right size, right? You're back to 23 inches long, about 2 inches wide, about, I don't know, I'm guessing 5 or 6 inches tall when you're done with it. I didn't see a display stand. I have to flip through here and see if there's a display stand for it. That would be slightly disappointing if they didn't have one. But, you know, the quality of this kit, you should get the little, you should source the little brass stands and put it up like that. If you're just going to build out of the box, that's, if you're not going to like put it in the sea and do like a, you know, a live action type of thing. So yeah, what I'm saying is, without having built it yet, with looking at the instructions and looking at the quality of the parts, the crispness of the detail, and how they are laid out, you know, I'm gonna give it an A+. I'm not gonna give it extra credit though. I'm gonna give it an A+. This is, you get 100%. To get extra credit, a company, and this is for all manufacturers, if you're going to 3D print parts, right, they need to have a part number that I see in the instructions, and that part number needs to be 3D printed next to the part so that I can easily find it. That's the extra credit. I have wasted countless hours on the Titanic and the Missouri going through Pontos and KA's detail set, trying to find the part that I've stumbled onto in the pictures of the instructions. Now this detail set The instructions have it here. There are part numbers, but I think these are kit part numbers. I'm not certain that, and I see what I assume are 3D printed parts in here, but they don't have part numbers. Now, they're printed large enough in here that I can see what I'm looking for, so it shouldn't be as difficult. They've taken out 50% of the struggle for finding the part, the 3D printed part. So that's how you get extra credit, companies. But that aside, this is, and I'm sure I didn't pay for this. I don't even know how much this kit costs. I'm sure it's not cheap. This is one of those, again, you get what you pay for, and I'm happy what I paid. Obviously, I got free, but I'm saying if this was $100 or more, it probably is more. It's probably a couple $100 if I had to guess. It's worth every penny. You're going to get a lot of build time out of this. Every minute of that build time should be very enjoyable, very detail-oriented, not taking up a lot of space. This is a high-quality kit. This is really good stuff. And lastly, I missed the boat when VeryFire came out with their 1/700 scale Bismarck. I had built, I can't remember the name of the company, but it was like the World of Warships version, and that's why I had fun painting it yellow. And then like right after that, everyone came out, or VeryFire came out with the 1/700 scale Bismarck. People were super stoked about it, and I was bummed that I didn't realize my timing was off. And I never saw that kit, and I didn't build it. I just heard exceptional things. Here we have this ship in 1/350th scale. This is a company that I need to research and invest more into. This is good stuff. This is primo high end. It's worth your money, in my opinion. I haven't built it yet. I suspect it'll go very well. All right, that's it. I blabbed on enough. That is honestly what I think. And yeah, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you in the next one.